Actually, I believe they're um, they didn't include their in-game name, so I assume it's February as well. Oh, well, we are going to be looking at like a Masters tank. I think they said like 30, around 3700. And they said they were going to be playing Zarya, but I see a problem. Let me see if I can find their actual in-game name. For... Oh, it looks like it's Backfan, I believe. If you're in chat, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I believe it's Backfan. And they say they were in a very winning streak, like of 7 games or something. So let's look at Backfan. And up next, probably Unknown Legend. Alright, let's just get right into it then. So this is about 3700 Zarya. Anubis, we have Ryan Zarya, we have a Lucio to go in and out. We have a McCree, who McCree is really good right now with Brawl, just for the stand right clicks. And we have a Widow, who's good to prevent the flyers, the enemy snipers, who are just really good on this map. Like this, spam your right click, playing with cover. This is good. Just spam your right click, playing with cover. You see that they have a Widow. Spam your right clicks, playing with cover. This is okay. Okay, rotate right. Forget about the Widow. This is not your job, just rotate right. Rotate right. Okay, you finally rotate right. Your roll's a little early. And the bubble on the Rhine is also early. Your Rhine is going out, he's not going in. And you're also going out, you're not going in. Your bubbles are just... You're probably getting charged. Yeah, you got like 50 charge. 60 charge, which is not bad. The problem is that these bubbles didn't enable anything. At a 3700, bubble usage is very important. You want your bubbles to be like a health boost, not just like you want your bubbles to give people opportunities to do something, not just give you charge. In this case, you ended up getting 969. You ended up getting decent amount of charge, but now you don't have your bubbles, and we also used like Arana nade, which is not great. But the whole point is you use your bubbles very early, and we didn't do anything with the bubbles. Yes, you have charge, but it's not like it's going to change that much when the enemy can just run at you and melt your team. Like, I'm sure the Zarya... Yeah, the enemy Zarya also has bubbles, but she used her bubbles very early. And by very early, I mean like before the fight actually happened. Now the fight is about to happen, and you just wasted both of your bubbles. So you are not going to have bubbles for this fight. Their Zarya is. And even though her energy is lower, her energy is like a whole 25 energy lower than you are, they are just going to push and win with these bubbles. Because basically, okay, let me explain what I mean. Yes, the amount of charge you can get with the bubbles is set. You can get up to 80 charge with both bubbles if you use all the health, which is why it's 69. Hello, 69 charge is actually pretty good. It's good value from the bubbles. The problem is that both you and Ryan were playing defensive and had full HP. So those are factors that you should take into account when considering the value of a bubble. Because here kind of how it works really quick. Bubbles, especially with Ryan Zarya, allow you to go aggressive and put pressure on the enemy, right? If you use a bubble defensively, you have to accept that, well, the enemy is probably going to push forward and just, we can counteract that pressure with our own pressure. So that's how you use your bubbles offensively to try to put pressure on the enemy, or defensively to counteract the pressure and put pressure on them in return. In this case, what you did was just like, we are kind of standing in the open. The enemy is doing damage our way. I'm just going to bubble. And yes, you got charged, but we didn't put any pressure on the enemy with those bubbles. Yes, they did a little bit of damage. Like, the enemy did damage to us, so you are going to tell me, but I did block 400 damage, but you blocked the wrong 400 damage. If this 400 damage could have been avoided by standing behind a choke, or just using the Rhine shield, anything like that, that's wasted damage block. 400 damage is not load, it's a single McCree right click. Well, McCree right click does, I believe, 300, but you get the idea. A single McCree right click you block. It's not a lot of damage if you can block it with a shield or with cover. Or just even let it through. If you let 200 damage hit your Rhine, it only takes like 2 shots from your Rhine to get your Rhine back up to health. And here's the secret that I'm going to share with you. It's not a secret, it's very well known. The idea of using your bubble is buying time for several things to happen. You can buy time first for your Rhine to go aggro, right? You are buying time for your Rhine to go aggressive and put pressure on the enemy Rhine. Swinging, he's not going to get stunned, he's not going to get melted. You can buy like 1 or 2 seconds of time for your Rhine, right? Because, well, he just doesn't have to worry about shielding. You can also buy time for your Ana, because in this, what 2 seconds that the Rhine is going aggressive, Ana gets free healing on the Rhine. So she can do like 140 healing on your Rhine. Let's do it like this with yellow. Right? This 140 healing is really good. Because basically what you're doing is you're letting your Rhine take a little bit of damage to go aggressive, right? Or to just hold or whatever. But yeah, let's say your Rhine takes 200 damage. Then your Rhine goes aggressive and you bubble him. And while he has the bubble, your Ana can heal him. So Rhine, instead of taking damage, goes from having, like, he's got, I believe, 350. So he's down to 400. He lost 150 health. But Ana, here, when he's at 400, you use your bubble, which gives him an artificial 200 HP to play with. And your Ana heals your Rhine back to full. Well, 540, because 2 shots from Ana to 140, not 150. But these 2 seconds of time you bought, or even like 1.5 seconds, is letting your Rhine get healed, get pressure, and also you will just get charged. So in this case, the problem with your bubbles, and it's been like 10 minutes in the review, and we watched like 1 minute, but I know. But the biggest thing I've already noticed with your bubbles is that you are using them for charge. And you are getting charged, don't get me wrong. You are using them for charge, you are getting charged, you are doing good in that sense. But you shouldn't be using them for charge. You should be using them to create opportunities for your team. If your Rhine wants to go aggro now, and you have a bubble, like, your Rhine wants to go forward. He's on the choke, he's trying to swing at the enemy Rhine, who doesn't have any armor. Let's look at their Zarya, who now has a bubble. Look at this, right? The enemy Rhine is putting pressure on my Rhine, so I'm going to bubble my Rhine when my Rhine goes forward, because the enemy Rhine doesn't have a bubble. Your bubble is 7 seconds, well, no. Your bubble is 6 seconds away. Here, they bubble the Rhine. The Rhine is not going aggro yet, but now he's going aggro. So even this bubble was like a little bit too early. But, and did they also use personal? No, not yet, okay. And you can see they get charged anyway. They were like at like 40 something, and because the Rhine is going aggressive, he's just taking damage because, you know, he's getting closer to the enemy, but this is allowing them to put pressure on your Rhine. Whereas your Rhine cannot pressure them, your Rhine has to back out, because he doesn't have this extra health, he cannot go aggressive, and the enemy team is just healing the Rhine, your Ana is healing your Rhine, but this Rhine is taking damage faster than we can heal it. Whereas if you had your bubble, you could prevent this, like this would be a good counterplay, for example. And here their Zarya is probably just going to, as soon as the friendly bubble runs out, which it just did, it's going to go aggressive herself, now that she's got charge, to put pressure on the Rhine as well. So if the Rhine tries to shield, which he shouldn't because he's got a Rhine on his face, but now if this Rhine tries to shield, then the Zarya can push forward because she has a bubble. It's not only going to get her charge because she's going very aggressive, but it gives the Zarya the opportunity of pressuring the Rhine. This is why your bubble, even though you got more charge than their Zarya, your bubbles were much worse. Now, yeah, your Rhine is under pressure. Zarya just goes aggressive. She doesn't actually have to use bubble, by the way, until you put pressure on her. Your Rhine's trying to shield. The Zarya never actually went. She never committed to going full aggro. And now, yeah, you're going to tell me I'm going to have my bubbles back. But your Rhine shield is breaking. Your Rhine's health is low. Your health is low. Your McCree health is half. And they have Mega, they go through the choke, the Rhine is kind of taking damage, but the Rhine has like full shield, because your Rhine has been using the shield a lot. They're going to be able to, as soon as your Rhine shield breaks, McCree stun the Rhine, right click, do damage, and just kill all of you. The Rhine just shields because he can. Now you start bubbling. At this point, I don't know how this fight goes, but I would like, unless your Rhine does like a really good pin or just a lot of damage with this bubble. Again, this is a good bubble. Like, your Rhine is going to try to use it. Well, he's actually like, this is just a miscommunication. You bubble the Rhine goes defensive instead, which is really bad. Again, this one is not entirely on you. Your Rhine could have tried to pressure the enemy Rhine, but his shield was at like 300, his health was low. So again, he's like, I cannot push in, and your bubble goes to waste because it's not really creating an opportunity. You try to get between the Rhine and the Rhine, but you cannot, and they have a emo, you don't. That's just a matter of comps. They don't really need the emo, no one's going to die, and your Rhine's just dead. You have no bubbles, Rhine has no shield, Anna cannot do enough healing to sustain the damage, and you just lose first point, right? Like, at this point, you just lose first point, I would assume. Yeah. So, there you go. A quick explanation of how using 2 bubbles actually lost you this. And again, you're gonna tell me, but I got 69 charge, lol. Because 69. But yeah, but those, like, hold on, let me just... Ideally, when you use a bubble, you want to do 3 things. One, which is the obvious one. Hold on, let me just try to aim over there so it's easier to see. When you use a bubble, you want to create 3 things. One, the obvious one, is get charge. But getting charge actually comes as a consequence. It's not a big deal if you don't get a lot of charge, because so long as you are creating an opportunity, then you're like, it is very likely that creating an opportunity will get you charge. If your Rhine goes aggressive and you bubble the Rhine, then he cannot get stunned. He's got like 1 to 2 free seconds of damage. He can do a lot of cliff damage, and you just win that fight. By using that opportunity during the fight, you are basically winning the fight, because your Rhine can go aggro, do like 2 swings, get 170 damage on everyone without taking any damage. And ideally, you don't want to bubble, like, if your Rhine is going to do this, right? Let's say, hold on, let's see if I can actually do it here instead. This should work. If your Rhine wants to do this, right? Your Rhine is here. Your Rhine wants to do this to try to get to the enemy. Then what you do is, you don't want to bubble him here, you want to bubble him here. Because, again, doing this is probably going to take a little... He's going to take damage, right? Even if he shields, when he goes forward, even if he doesn't want to, as soon as he starts to go, he's probably going to take damage. But if you bubble him during this, you will block the damage and get charged, which is what you're doing. Not even that, you're just like, my Rhine is holding the choke, I'm going to bubble him. But, you know. But if you bubble the Rhine when he is here and has taken that 200 damage, your Rhine can go for a swing anyway, because he's going to get bubbled for, 200 HP. He's going to get healed for, well, whatever HP he's missing, right? And this Rhine is going to have full health. He's going to have applied a lot of pressure on the enemy, and he can get out with his shield if he really wants to. And after that, when the Rhine goes out, you can come in. And again, if you're going to do that, you don't bubble here. Bubble here. Because the same goes for you. When you're here, yeah, you may have taken like 100 to 200 damage when you showed up, but once you bubble, you stop taking damage, so no more damage, your Ana can heal you, and when you start going back, you will have full health, and your Rhine is probably there to relieve you. And at that point, both you and your Rhine have put a lot of pressure on the enemy, and you just win. Of course, the enemy can counterplay this by using their own bubbles, like when your Rhine goes aggro, maybe the enemy Zarya bubbles their Rhine, so your Rhine gets less value from his pressure, then the Rhine can counter-aggress, or the Zarya, like I said, when they break to the choke, if your Rhine is holding defensively, then they can go aggressive with a Rhine bubble, and when your Rhine keeps going defensive, then the Zarya can take an angle on the Rhine v Rhine fight, shoot at the Rhine, and if you try to chase the Zarya out, she just self-bubbles and gets out. But yeah, hopefully that's a very quick, and by quick I mean 20 minutes, but a very quick explanation on how using your bubbles early, even if you get a lot of charge from them, can lose you games, or at least fights. Your positioning is good, your right clicks are solid. Here you are putting a lot of pressure. How did you use your bubbles on this one? Hold on. For example, what's this bubble, right? I'm okay with this one because there's a very high chance you'll get your bubble back before the fight starts. That's the only reason. Yeah, you get charge and you get up for a lot of charge, and this is okay. Especially because if you keep your friendly bubble, you can use your personal for charge because you usually use your friendly first, then your personal during fights at least. But this bubble is my problem. This bubble is not enabling your Reinhardt. He's got full health, he's missing like 20 HP, he's not close enough to apply pressure yet. And yeah, you may get charged from this because they have people shooting or doing damage this way, but your Rhine doesn't get that opportunity. Meanwhile, their Rhine has taken, like, how much? 154 damage, right? When he's bubbled. He's in melee with your Rhine, and now your Rhine doesn't have a bubble. So you actually lose this fight. By using your bubble very early, and before your Rhine is even in range to do damage to their Rhine, you're actually letting them get, well, more healing, more damage, more value. That's the key word. Your bubbles are getting you charge, but no one in your team can get value out of your bubbles. Even your personal bubbles are not getting you charge. Sorry, not getting you value beyond just charge. And the Rhine tries to, he tries to go for it, but because the enemy Rhine had that extra 200 and the extra 1 to 2 seconds to get healed, he's not going to lose this 1v1. The way you win this is your McCree has to get closer and stun the Rhine, because now they don't have a bubble, so McCree can get close, stun the Rhine, right click and kill the Rhine, and that's the way you win this. You use this to bait the bubble to get your McCree to go in and stun and right click, but that's too much. The general idea I'm trying to explain is that your bubbles are very early and they are losing you fights. Like, can you see the HP? Your Rhine is just losing. And it may seem silly, but it is all because of your bubble, because he had that extra 200 HP to play with. Like, their Rhine is at 200 and, well, he just got hit. Oh no, he just got healed. The number hadn't gone up yet. So their Rhine is at 295. Your Rhine is at 121. He's got like a third of the enemy Rhine's health. And you will notice that between 120 and 290, the difference is basically those 200 points of damage that you could have blocked with your bubble. Day high noon, you get out. Like, your positioning is good. Your use of right click and left click, like, it's pretty solid actually. Your bubble priority is pretty good. Like, you're trying to get the right targets. It's just the timing that's kind of screwing you off because you're not getting enough value. This is really good from your, like, this may actually win you the fight. I know your McCree died, but your McCree will come back faster. Again, what's this bubble? I know their Rhine, like, in this case, their Rhine also got bubble, I think because the Zarya is getting booped out. So she just bubbled whatever she could see. But if you just let your like now they both Rhines, and we come back to this. Both Rhines once again have full health. If you let your Rhine go forward, take a little damage to the Rhine, this bubble is going to go away. Then you bubble your Rhine can do that extra 2 swings for like 170 damage. Well, it's not 170 against Rhine, it's 160 because armor. But you get the idea. Your Rhine can do that extra 160 damage from the 2 extra swings while he's bubbled, and your Ana can heal the Rhine back to full. So your Rhine starts 540, let's just say 550, to 290, 450, 390. And this difference is very big. It's a big difference. Because basically playing Rhine v Rhine is a battle of resources. Who wastes their cooldowns first? Who uses their resources first? And you are using your resources very early, which is costing your team a loss in resources, in net resources. Your Widow just probably won this. Like, you guys may be able to hold this. Just on, well, we block the Shatter, which is good, and their Emo is out. Again, they are using all of their resources. We do lose a lot of people. This may actually be winnable, though. Forget about this, go for the Rhine. I know it may look silly, but yeah, your Rhine can just break it. Your Rhine will cleave through the Emo as well. At least he should. Like, he should be aiming to hit the Emo as well. So he gets nanoed at some point here. He goes for the Rhine. There's the Emo. Your Rhine blocks the Shatter, which is good. And with this cleave, he should be hitting the Emo as well. Like, is he looking at the Emo? Yeah, look at that. He goes for the Emo, right? Because your Rhine can cleave through the Emo. Instead of focusing on the Emo, what you have to do is get their Rhine as low as possible. So you, like, right now the Rhine would be not dead, but you could be putting even more pressure on the Rhine. Because the Emo's just gone. But do you have bubble? You do. You just bubble your Rhine. Late on the bubble, you're going to grab, I assume. Just grab, just grab, just grab. Okay, good grab. Looks like a 1-fight, and we just win this. So you did end up winning this because your Widow just picked both of their DPS, so their damage was a lot lower. But you could have thrown this by using your bubbles, like, not for nothing. You got charged, but you should be using them for value as well as charge. Like, again, this bubble, I'm okay with this bubble. The fight is not going to happen yet. And your Widow's just striking. This bubble, again, way too early, and this is what I want to focus on. Your bubbles are, like, you're bubbling. Like, I know, like, there are words. Let me words good. Their bubble is here because they are just trying to bait energy. They cannot push in with this. Your bubble is like, Ryan, go in, try to get value. Because they don't have a McCree who's going to be doing a lot of damage this way. The Ryan is too far away, Tracer's probably on the flank, maybe Zarya, and that's about it. So this is not good. Their bubble is just like, well, we have to wait, might as well bubble because they have to wait. Your bubble is like, yeah, no, I'm trying to get value. Imagine if you had bubble now. When your Ryan's actually swinging. Rather than when your Ryan is doing this, you give your bubble to the Ryan now when he's swinging and he can get value. And your Ryan is just going very low because, you know, he doesn't have a bubble. You all get put forward. Your McCree stands the Ryan, which should be just a free kill. Arbab misses the Emo, which is not your fault. And yeah, that's like, now you just bubble the Ryan again. And you can see that you should have bubbled the Ryan. You could have saved the Ryan. But you can see how going aggressive without your bubbles, or by using your bubbles too early, it just lost you the resource fight against their Ryan. Even though they were down on DPS, they just play a little defensive until the DPS come back, and then you lose. We use ultimates, they use ultimates. We need to play defensive. Your positioning again is pretty good. Like, your positioning, you're trying to play behind cover. Your aim is solid. That bubble on Lucio is okay. Lucio's difficult to kill. But still, that bubble on Lucio is okay. Basically because you're losing the point. And I don't think this time your Widow's gonna save you. Like, last fight, you threw that. and the Widow saved you by killing both of their DPS. This fight, your Widow couldn't help you when you were all the way out there, basically doing Rein, Zarya, and Bob from all the way up here. Against Rein, Zarya, you wasted your bubbles and you just lost the game. And again, I don't mean for this to sound so, well, blunt and mean, but using your bubbles like that is actually, well, not throwing the game, but it's losing fights. Especially because their Zarya is waiting. Their Zarya is punishing your bad bubbles by just bubbling the Rein at the right time. So their Zarya is rolling you. With the bubble usage at least. You may have better positioning, you may have better aim, you may even have better ult tracking or in-game planning or whatever, but your bubble usage is not that good, and the enemy Zarya is punishing it very well, which is a very big deal. Because again, when you're trying to go in, right, and you bubble here or just bubble at the choke, it becomes really difficult for your Rein to get value out of that bubble. You get charged, but the Rein doesn't get anything. Whereas their Zarya is getting charged because the Rein is doing something. I also expect that it's going to be a lot harder for you to actually get charged on offense, if only because you can't just bubble people holding the choke anymore. Like, you have to actually push into them. So I expect it to be a little bit more difficult for you to get charged on offense, because you have to bubble at the right time. At the very least when your Rein is pushing. Okay, you go out, this is fine, you go out. Also, we don't have a lot of healing this time. Like, we had Ana before, we had Baptiste before, either of those are okay. Right now you have very low healing, so you really just want to go all in and win the fight as early as you can. See, this bubble is fine. Like, use your personal, you get a little charge, that's okay. We are not going to need it. This bubble is not good. But I can be okay with this one because of the same reason. If your team regroups for a second, when you go back out, you'll probably have both of your bubble. So I can be okay with this. The reason I'm telling you that this bubble is, I don't love it, is that, yeah, the enemy team is just kind of shooting the shield. They can still shoot the shield without shooting at Rein. And the Rein is just shielding for your team, so. But yeah, you know what, let's just call that fine, because again, here you can just wait for a second, wait for your Rein. Don't go by yourself. Even this bubble, what's the point of this bubble? That's way too early. Way too early. You take a little bit of damage, but now you don't have your bubble for 10 seconds. And you don't have your bubble. You have used two sets of bubbles and gotten 50 charge. Because your personals got you very little value. The first one was okay, but the first friendly was really bad. They are not just going to shoot at your bubble for free. You should keep in mind that at this rank, at 3700, people will not just shoot at your bubbles blindly. Unless they have like a Junkrat or a Pharah or anyone who's just spamming the chokes, you are not going to need this type of bubble because they are just not going to shoot them. And this bubble in your Rein is losing you fights. Like, quite literally losing you fights. Like, look at this. The Reins are fighting, again. Your Rein has taken damage when going in. So he's getting spammed a little bit. And they have an extra 200 value. Right here. This Rein is dead. Your friendly bubble is not here for 5 seconds. In the next 5 seconds, I can almost guarantee that your Rein will die. Between having very low healing and not having a bubble, your Rein is just dead. I don't see a way for him to get out here safely. 3. You know what? Maybe not. Maybe they just don't kill your Rein. This is a great trick from your Hanzo. Like, your Hanzo stayed behind. Oh no, he actually took a really good flank. I love that. This is a really good play from your Hanzo. And how did your Rein not die? They just didn't punish him. The enemy Rein just played very defensive on the choke. You got your bubble. So that's actually a pretty good bubble. Like, your Rein is fighting. Good bubble. Again, the healing is very low. That's the main problem. So you have to go really aggressive. You have used both of your bubbles to try to create space for your Rein. But we basically have very low healing, so it's difficult. They have no healing right now, so like your Hanzo just wins this. Are they? They're actually not the same player than the Widow. So your Hanzo just wins this for us. Your Hanzo removes the healing, then removes the damage, and we can just go in. So really well played by your Hanzo. You did alright that fight. Like, again, your bubbles at the beginning weren't great. Then your second set of bubbles, they didn't punch your rank when they could have. And then the bubbles after that, you did pretty good. Probably because you were just pushing. At this point, you just win this. Again, what's the point of this bubble on the Rhine? You just stay here. That's solid. That bubble's fine. At this point, you are just cleaning up. Genshi's fine. You get shattered. Should be fine. Our Spanish, maybe not, actually. Oh my god, how do we lose this? I was just like, yeah, we just win this. So that bubble on your Zarya, on your Widowmaker is good. Does Widow not have grapple? She doesn't. She used it to escape the Lucia. Then you have personal, and we just are late with the reaction to block shatter. And we die. We do a headshot from their Widow. Oh my god, I can't believe they hold this. That's surprising. That's surprising to me that they hold that. Because you guys had won that. Mostly because, again, your Hanzo just went insane and killed 2 people. Well, 2 people. They went Genji to come back faster. Oh, and now we have a pop. That's a really good change for us. Now we... Unlucky. But the Widow won your second point. So... Here, standing the choke, trying to get value, that's fine. Again, bubbling the Rhine is not... Like, they are shooting at it, they shouldn't be. But even then, it's like... It's just getting you value, it's okay. It's not ideal, but it's okay. This one, again, especially here, they're just not gonna shoot you if you do that. Your Hanzo dies, I think because he's by himself. He tried to do the same thing. Like, last time he did this and killed about this. He tried to do the same thing, but the difference is that last time, you guys were here, and your Hanzo had all of this room to work with. This time, he tries to go for it, and he gets punished. You couldn't have saved him, don't worry. And this is a lost fight, by the way. Your Rhine just charges in, we lose both DPS. Lost fight, all the way, just die, just die. Just die right away, this is not winnable, don't use grab, just die. You die, that's okay, this is a lost fight. They use grab, which is good for us. Next fight, maybe we can just grab dragons and kill them. Not a great bubble again. Like, I don't expect this Widow to take damage. But you know what? Maybe, you know what? I'll take it back. Maybe this bubble is your best bubble ever. I didn't realize maybe they were dueling, like both Widows. It didn't look like it. I didn't see their Widow in a position to duel. Oh, she's all the way back here. But no, it wasn't your bubble. Your bubble's already gone. I thought that your bubble allowed your Widow to pick their Widow on a different angle and kill their Widow. Like, I thought maybe their Widow was holding, like, up here. And just holding this position, this angle, right? And you bubbling the Widow allowed the Widow to pick the other Widow. And the Widow couldn't shoot because they had a bubble, so they were waiting. And your Widow just got the pick with a single shot. Which is not what happened. But you know what? Maybe your bubble actually gave your Widow the confidence to pick in the first place. So that may actually be a good explanation of value on bubbles that are not on Rhine. Because your Widow... Where's your Widow? Like, you see your Widow is all the way back here taking shots. And when you bubble, she goes forward. She actually goes forward to try to get the pick. And then you get the kill. So it's not ideal because, again, you bubble them in a very safe position where they maybe didn't need it. But the bubble gave your Widow the confidence to pick the other Widow and kill them. Even though by the time the Widow could have shot at them, they did not have bubble anymore. So this was actually a good bubble. Again, it would have been ideal if you did it like 1 second later, so the bubble was still there when they picked their Widow. But that's the idea. If you bubble one of your snipers, one of your DPS, when they are going for that 1v1, it can give them that advantage that they need to win that 1v1 and get a pick. So that's the idea. Good job. And now we just win, right? Like, they don't have a Widow, they have a Genji, we have a McCree. Well, Actually, we don't have a Macri. Oh. We have a hand, so I was thinking of the last round. But that's it. We still have a lot more damage. That's what I was trying to get to. Okay. I'm not against this grab. I don't know why you self-bubble. I will say that. What's this bubble? Of course they are not going to shoot at you anymore. They don't have anyone who can shoot at you from this range. The only thing is fire strike, and now that you've bubbled, he's not going to fire strike you. Of course you don't get charged. Because again, you're just trying to use them for charge. You are not thinking, okay, I can go aggressive with this bubble. I can help close this choke when they're spamming. You're just going like, oh, I can get charged if I stand here and bubble. Which is not good. I like this craft though. This is a good craft. Now you can take this time to go at the Baptiste. You can try to get the tanks, but the tanks are not your best target. Instead, what I want you to do is get the Baptiste. Right? Because you can do this without the tank stopping you. We also have dragons, so I assume the dragons is going to kill the tanks. Dragons was way too late, by the way. You can kill people through beat in grab dragons if you time it right. The dragons was way too late. The grab is going to probably finish before the dragon even gets there. Yeah, look at that. Grab is over and the dragon barely got there. And they just move away because they have Lucio and they have Emo and they have B. Also, what are you doing? I like this, but then you just go for point? Don't go for point. Contest the backline. This is not your range. You want to be definitely closer. You and Rai could have moved here, going for an aggressive move here on their backline and just gotten a ton of value. You probably win this anyway? Maybe not actually. Like the grab idea was good, dragons was late. Maybe you didn't call your grab if you're not doing that call when you're grabbing, so your hands will press the skill right away. You get shattered. Okay, your vine just spins their vine, which is really good. You bubble the Baptiste to survive. And it looks like I won 5, maybe? Mostly because you have a vine and they don't. Okay, we do win the fight. That was very close though. And you should not have come to point. The reason not to come to point is that they have brought, you have brought, and you can get on top of them and do the same damage they can, and you just close their first span response. You got good cleanup. Again, your aim is not the problem, and your positioning is not the problem. It's mostly your bubbles. I even like the idea of the bubble on the high ground. Yo, that's very important. With this guy dead, we can just go. They are down 1 DPS. If we are words, if we are all here, which should be coming, we can just go. But again, you already used one, we were a little slow. Like the rotation in general was just slow. This is fine. This is fine. Trying to take damage. Trying to take damage. Trying to take damage. Oh, do damage rather. Don't take damage. Again, another useless bubble. You do this a lot. You're like, I'm at a choke. I'm going to bubble. I'm at a choke. I'm going to bubble. Don't do that. You want to bubble when you have value for the bubble. Other than just, I'm at a choke. If I bubble now, I will probably get charged. Because first, you will probably get charged, right? Which means that, yeah, it is more likely than not that you get some charge. But let's say it's an 80% chance that you get charged because they're shooting. That's a 20% chance that you don't get any charge and just waste your bubble. But also, the higher you go in rankings, the less value, like the less that chance is, like 70-30, and 60-40, and so on and so forth. Ooh, you guys lose this, huh? That's unlucky. Again, this bubble in your vine is way too early. And you're gonna say, but the Ryan got bubbled at the same time. No, he didn't. Zarya wasted her personal, which is good for us actually. Use your personal at the same time, just not good for us actually. Look at this. Look at how much difference this makes, even though it's barely any. It's 1 second. And it makes all the difference. Because your Rhine doesn't have a bubble now, and their Rhine does, for one more swing. And your Rhine doesn't do any damage, and now your Rhine is melted. Because they now have a McCree who can punish your bubbles. Your McCree helps your... That's pretty good from your McCree, actually. That would have been... Your Rhine would be dead here if your McCree didn't react. So they line of sight the window. Stun. Going for right click. 3. When he's choosing the third shot, he gets counter stun. Otherwise, your Rhine would have taken 100 more damage. They go for play, so they probably win anyway. We don't have anything. We have beat, actually, never mind. So we maybe win with beat, but we already lost our Hanzo. Which, again, trades are in their favor most of the time. And we kill the Genji, but Bab dies, lost 5, just get out, just get out, just get out. Just get out, just get out, no, just get out. And the reason I'm telling you to get out is that you have high charge. And you're gonna tell me we are even. You are not even. You have your Genji, your Hanzo is coming back with Genji, but their Genji is right here. Your Baptiste is dead. So they're actually up 1 person. Also, your spans are a lot longer. So not only are you up 1 person, this fight is going to go on for a lot longer. I just want you to get out, and if you can, preserve your charge. At this point though, it's probably too late, your Rhine is dead. Probably too late, you bubble the McCree to try to get him out, but it's too late. At this point, you just die. Don't do scrap. Yeah, just die. Took you too long to get out there, but... Okay. Our Genji's dead, so we cannot go in. You bubble your Rhine. This is actually not a terrible bubble. He's trying to pressure the enemy Rhine. But you're not with him, that's the problem. Like, the bubble is not bad, but we cannot push until we get the next set of bubbles. Even this is like, okay. But yeah, we can't push for another 3 or 4 seconds. And your Rhine's moving, and your team's not. Someone's gonna get picked, huh? Please don't get picked. Listen, bubble, like, it's not, again, not ideal because your Rhine's already shielding, and the enemy can shoot at the shield anyway. So it's like, you're stacking defensive abilities, quote unquote defensive, right? Damage blocking, damage reduction abilities. Not good. You're very aggressive here. What's the idea? What are you doing? You're just gonna die. You also, again, you bubbled way too early here. Like, if you want to go aggressive, you don't want to bubble until you start taking damage. Like, again, I don't like that bubble in the Rhine. Like, now again, you're gated from fully committing for another few seconds. You go anyway. And you bubble here? Like, who's even shooting at you? Who's even looking at you? McCree was the only one and he rolled away. Like, this is a bad bubble. Terrible bubble. I think you're going for an aggressive grab. But because you've used your bubble, you cannot actually go aggressive on the grab. Like, the idea would have been... Hold on. Let's just go back to see if there was a good opportunity here. Let's say you grab right now, you get all these 3 people together, right? You grab here, you get the Zarya, the Rhine, and the McCree. You want to go aggressive and kill the McCree. So you go here, outside of the Rhine shield, and shoot at the McCree. But, because you've used your bubble, McCree just stuns you, and right-clicks you, and Rhine swings at you, and Zarya shoots at you, and you're dead. So the idea of using grab to pull everyone together, then you cannot chase them on your own. You've got no one who can follow up on this grab. If that's the idea. If you're just doing this to try to get a flank, that's bad. If you're just going early because you didn't realize your right was in position, that's bad. Yeah, just going on the point by yourself. and using the bubble this early are both really bad. Because now you don't have a way out. Like, your bubble gives you a way out. It blocks CC, it blocks damage, and it gives you like 2 seconds of just free movement. You end up using your bubble, and the Rhine just shatters you. Look at that! Oh, I hate it, because this is really bad for you. But I did call it. I'm sorry to say. But yeah, don't use your bubbles like that. Stop using them just to get charged. Even here, you were just... Sorry. Even here, you were just like, oh, the McCree is kind of shooting at me. If I bubble, I'm going to get charged. But you're not getting value out of your bubbles. You are maybe getting charged, and this is just a lost fight. You just get deleted. Their Rhine dies, which is good for us, but this is a lost fight anyway. Like, they just grab, we're trading. Again, trading is bad for us because they just have very close bounce. They're using ultimates though, which is good. Please don't grab this. I'm looking at you coming through main, and I'm like, oh, you're just gonna grab, aren't you? Your Genji's dead and coming back. Your team is low on resources. We don't have a nade. Your McCree is low. We do have beat. But again, this grab is basically the same that they grab on the other side. Where you don't really have anyone who can follow up to this. And you already threw it, by the way. Like, who's gonna follow up? Your Rhine is not in position to follow up. These two are not in position to follow up. Your Ana, of course, cannot even throw a nade there because she just used it. So, and you're gonna tell me, but the grab got like 4 people. Yeah, but what are you going to do with 0 charge against 4 people? 4 people? 4 people. 3 people. Never mind. Or maybe Moira just faded out. No, she didn't. You just didn't get Moira. But 3 people. Yeah, they beat. Like, even if they didn't beat, you don't have enough energy to kill them. With 30. And you just waste grab, and because you use your bubble again very early. Look at this. You grab, and as soon as you start going forward, you bubble. You start going forward, and you bubble now, I think. What's the point? You have full health. Play with your health. Yeah, it looks like a little damage from the McCree, a little damage from the Genji, like 150 damage. But you can take 150 damage. Even then, this was not good. It's as simple as that. The way you go aggressive with Zarya is not, I'm going to big flank. Is if my Rhine is going this way, like if my Rhine is pushing this way, I can do this. Because that can get around the enemy Rhine shield. That's how you go aggressive with Zarya. You don't want to take big flanks. You can for like, if you have a plan, maybe you want to go for a big flank and you had dragons, right? Or blade. And you're like, okay, if I can get 3 or 4 people in grab by going big flank, then we just win because we have a follow-up. But in this case, you do not have that follow-up. They actually played and kill us all. And you were still in grab. And this is the second time in a row you try to go for that big flank grab aggressive play and you cannot because you don't have any follow-up when you go. Looks like you guys have 2 more fights, maybe. This bubble is okay. Like, I don't know why you bubbled like here. I just don't want to keep repeating myself. You were trying to bubble the Rhine, of course. But even here, I'm like, yeah, you don't have to. Rhine is shielding you so we can move forward without using resources. That's the whole point. But you're just like, no, I'm going to bubble you anyway, Rhine. And then I'm going to use my own bubble. Which I'm okay with. Your bubble did get you energy and the fight's probably not happening right away. But yeah, just don't go forward. Just go to the side and wait. We have 1 more fight anyway, so it's not a good idea. Yeah. That deflected 5 strike was a big deal. And here you just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait. You lost 2 people, you have 1 more fight, might as well wait. That bubble on Tracer wasn't necessary, she was not in danger, she wasn't going to use anything from it. You were late with your own bubble. Well, no, you didn't have your own bubble, don't mind me. But the point is, you're just wasting your bubbles here. You just have to full reset. We just full reset for one more fight. You die, it's okay. Again, that's not your fault entirely, but you're still wasting your bubbles. What's the point of bubbling Rhine here when the enemy Rhine is here? You're gonna tell me I want to get charged. Okay, then coordinate to get charged because your Rhine is standing and shielding. So what you want to do is you want to make sure your Rhine is moving forward. Then you bubble him. Then they shoot at him. You get charged, and the Rhine can shield here, and we've gained some momentum. Even for this kind of thing, you are just not doing it very well. I'm actually. Oh my god. I was about to compliment you on. I'm actually glad that you didn't bubble the fire strike because we have to go in really soon. We have to go very aggressive really soon. So I'm glad you didn't bubble the fire strike so that we have bubbles to go aggressive when we need them soon. You just took the fire strike. I'm actually okay, champ. That's actually good because we are going to need this baby soon. But then you just bubbled. Then you just went like fire strike 100 immediate damage. Nah, I'm going to block like 20 damage. And yeah, you do get some charge out of your bubbles. You do get actually decent charge out of your bubbles. But imagine if you had your bubbles now. Even with 0 charge, we could just go very aggressive. Save them from when the beat runs out. We use beat to close the distance. And speed, all of you get shattered. You could bubble that even. So hold on. You just kind of use your bubbles haphazardly to get through the choke. We beat, we have to go aggressive. Imagine if you had your bubbles now. Ryan's going for a shatter, you just bubble your Ryan. You bubble yourself, you block the shatter. If you have your enough reaction time, which you are playing at 3700, I assume your reaction speed is okay. Especially maybe not to block it for your Ryan, but to block it for yourself with a bubble. I think it would have been doable. And we are just laid down, they played, we nano Ryan. They play their backline. Yeah. And we just lose. Hopefully you can see how like bubbles are more than just charge. Like a single bubble is not for charge. It's a consequence of value. Think that the bubbles are not only blocking 200 damage, but they're blocking 200 damage and can last up to 2 seconds. And in these 2 seconds, you can get healed if you have taken damage. You can block CC if they are going for a Macristan. You can allow your Rhine to swing twice. Do 160 damage to the enemy Rhine. Free pressure. Then your Rhine gets healed back out because you basically trade like a couple swings. And then when you bubble your Rhine will not take damage from the swings. The enemy Rhine will keep taking damage from the swings and your Rhine will heal. The too long don't read is that you need to be getting more value out of your bubbles. Hopefully, this review can help you at least visualize a little bit that you're using your bubbles too early and too, I don't want to say passive, I want to say just predictably. You're just like, not even predictably in a good way, predictably in a bad way. I'm just like, I'm going to stand on the choke, they are going to do damage to the choke, so I'm just going to bubble and get energy. Going to, I just already said this, all of this, but that's a too long to read. You're just bubbling for charge, for energy, not bubbling for value, and you should be valuing for value, and charge is just a consequence. Because if your Rhine gets value out of these bubbles, then you just get charged in return. If you get value out of going aggressive with your own bubble, then you just get charged in return. And again, you can use your personal bubble to get charged sometimes, especially if you like are waiting for someone to come back or whatever, and you're like, are we going to take more than 6 seconds before the next fight? Yeah, okay. I use my personal, maybe even my friendly to get value, to get some charge, and that's fine. Those bubbles for energy are fine because you are not going to fight. But the problem is that you are defending, especially when you are defending. If you use your bubbles, the enemy can just push you. They are choosing when the engagement happens. Because if you are just defending, like over here, right, or whatever, and you use bubbles, the enemy can be like, oh, They don't have bubbles. We have bubbles. Let's just push to the check. Okay. Let's take like a 3 or 4 minute break, and then I'll be back with another one. Be right back. Okay, I am back, chat.